earlier this week, Senator Josh Hawley said that he would be the Republican senator who would stand up and challenge the electoral votes for Joe Biden. So he's going along with Donald Trump's ridiculous disinformation campaign about widespread voter fraud, even though we know without a shadow of a doubt that there is no widespread voter fraud. The election was free and fair. How do we know that? Even Mitch McConnell, Senate Majority Leader, acknowledged it. William Barr, with the help of an investigation by the FBI, came out and said that the investigation found no widespread voter fraud. But of course, Senator Josh Hawley is looking to win some brownie points among Donald Trump's base. And so he said that he'll be the senator to challenge the electoral votes. Now, Senator Ben Sasse has called him out. And I do want to share his statements with you. He says, the president and his allies are playing with fire. If you make big claims, and you had better have the evidence. If you make big claims, you had better have the evidence. But the president doesn't, and neither do the institutional arsonist members of Congress who will object to the Electoral College vote. He continues to write, and this is all in a lengthy Facebook post. Let's be clear what's happening here. We have a bunch of ambitious politicians who think there's a quick way to tap into the president's populist base without doing any real long-term damage, but they're wrong. And this issue is bigger than anyone's personal ambitions. Adults don't point a loaded gun at the heart of legitimate self-government. And so he's absolutely right about that. After Josh Hawley came out and said that he was going to challenge these electoral college votes, he sent out fundraising emails. And Cenk, I think you'll be amused by the fact that today, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, who is very much against this tactic, had a call with the Senate GOP, and the whole point was to get Senator Hawley to explain his reasoning behind this move. Well, Hawley was not on that call. So he called on Hawley, he wasn't there. And then following that, Josh Hawley sent an email to his Republican peers explaining the reasoning behind his move. Of course, he's not being honest. The real reasoning here is fundraising, because he keeps sending out fundraising emails after he makes news or headlines on this very issue. And he also talked about it on a recent segment on Fox News. I wanted to quickly go to that and then get your thoughts, Cenk.
This is my opportunity to stand up and say something, to stand up and point out that there were irregularities in this election, that there was fraud. Nobody disputes that, by the way, that there needs to be an investigation as to how widespread this fraud was, and there needs to be change. Our election laws need to be changed. We need election integrity measures, obviously, and yet Congress has done nothing, and they won't do anything unless somebody stands up and says something.
So real quick, I want to respond to that, because Hawley's lying. Earlier this year, Senate Democrats fought over and over again to pass legislation that would protect election integrity, fund election integrity to ensure that we don't have any issues with voting machines that are connected to the internet, for instance. Marsha Blackburn shot down that legislation. She blocked it, and Senator Josh Hawley didn't do a damn thing about it, didn't care, didn't speak out against it, wasn't concerned about election integrity at all. So for him to claim that he's worried about election integrity and that Congress isn't doing anything about it is just a flat out lie.
Okay, so Josh Hawley's monumentally full of crap, and I'm gonna explain to you the different Republican camps here and why McConnell's so mad at Hawley, because they're both bad guys. So you need a little bit of clarity as to what kind of food fight is going on here. So first of all, Hawley's doing this not just for the fundraising, but because he's gonna run for president in 2024. So, and this is a way for him to distinguish himself from other Republican senators and remember, he can see the polls like we can, and Hawley's a smart guy. So he sees that only 3% in the last poll, now that was a while back, about a month ago or so. I haven't seen a new poll on it, but in that poll, only 3% of Republican voters thought Joe Biden won the election. So Hawley's not an idiot, he sees that and goes, well, I prefer to be on the side of the 97% than the 3% if I'm going into a Republican primary for president in 2024. So that's a logical political move. Does he actually believe that Biden didn't win the election? Of course not. And classy Ben Sasse, pointed out that in private, none of the Republican senators or congressmen think that Biden lost the election and Trump won it. None of them think it, none of them. And that's Ben Sasse, a Republican senator, basically outing them, saying they're all lying, okay? So, and by the way, this should not be a surprise. The only reason why it's like, whoa, a politician's lying is because mainstream media loves politicians so much. They never tell you the thousands of times that they're lying. So this is very standard fare. So now back to the Hawley-McConnell fight. It's not that Hawley is in the insane camp of the Republican Party, because the Republican Party is now splintered into two basic parts. It has nothing to do with ideology or policies. It's the sane and the insane. And so there's now 125 Republicans in the House who go, I don't see reality. I think Trump won. Yeah, I think Trump won. And so there's all sorts of insane theories, et cetera, right? But that's not what this is about. When Hawley says, I'm gonna make you guys all vote, that puts all the other Republican senators on the record as voting against Trump, or most of them will vote against Trump because they have to, right? And it doesn't matter even if they didn't, the House is gonna vote him down anyway. So McConnell's like, what are you jamming us up for? Because now you're gonna make us look like idiots if we vote with Trump. And you're gonna make us look like lunatics and against democracy, and that's gonna be on our record forever. Or we have to vote against Trump, and that's gonna hurt all of us in our elections. And Hawley's like, yeah, but I'm greedy and selfish, and I'm a slimy politician just like you are, Mitch. So you know what? I'm gonna grab all those voters, and then I'm gonna blame you guys later. So of course, a couple of other senators now are like, oh, yeah, me too. Of course, I'm with Trump. And so that's how this game is played.
Yeah, in fact, CNN is reporting that there are as many as 5 senators who are willing to challenge the electoral vote. And the reason why they're willing to do that is because they see a political benefit to it, knowing that any effort to actually overturn the election results will fail because the House will reject it. So this is a way of showing their loyalism to Donald Trump in order to appeal to his base. It's a way to fundraise. And so some might be wondering, okay, well, what's the big deal then? There is, I believe, a real consequence to what's happening right now, and that consequence is the Republican electorate, who is very much under this assumption that the election was stolen from Donald Trump. And we've already seen, instances of violence play out as a result of that. So if the end result is what should happen, which is Joe Biden was elected, he's gonna be president, he's gonna be inaugurated later in January, what kind of reaction is Trump's base gonna have? And I think that that's a serious concern, definitely.
Yeah, no question. And so Hawley's basically raising his hand and saying, I'm the new Ted Cruz. I'll screw over everyone else, including my fellow Republicans, to grab the spotlight and to grandstand. And I don't mind lying to you at all. And look, understand this comes from a place where I actually agree with Hawley more than I agree with Ben Sasse or Mitch McConnell on the issues. I almost never agree with McConnell and Cruz. Hawley's right about 10% of the time, and he's right on the direct checks. It doesn't mean he's not a scummy, lying politician. He votes terribly 90% of the time, and on top of that, he's even slimier than most politicians because he knows with great certainty that he's lying about this, and that if you actually wanted to do election reform, number one, as Anna pointed out, let's do it tomorrow. Let's pass the actual bill that would protect the voting machines and make sure that they're verified. You want to do that? No, you don't want to do that. You want to play political games, and just that's the context that you need in this story.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.